The district strikes a deal to bring the Commanders back to D.C., but it's not a done deal just yet. The move still needs support from the D.C. Council. Thanks for joining us. I'm Michelle Marsh.
And I'm Scott Thuman. This is a project that Mayor Muriel has been working on for years now. She made that announcement alongside the NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell today. And we've got team coverage on this. All day long are Rebecca Turco and Sports Director Scott Abraham, both at today's announcement.
And our Maryland Bureau Chief, Brad Bell, is looking into what comes next for Northwest Stadium. We'll go first, though, to Rebecca for a breakdown of the cost. Rebecca, you were in the room. Lots of energy, lots of enthusiasm. What do the numbers look like?
Yeah, so the numbers, we do know that there are no tax increases to fund this, but there still is taxpayer funding involved. So the Commanders would pay for the stadium itself, the district would chip in with getting the site ready, and the district would be behind all of the development surrounding the stadium.
Let's give our Commanders a big Washington, D.C. welcome.
And with that, Mayor Bowser joined the head of the Commanders and the NFL Commissioner announcing their plan to bring the football team back to D.C. A $3.6 billion investment to build a sports and entertainment campus with housing, too. $2.7 billion would come from the Commanders to build the stadium itself. The district would foot the rest from different pools of money, including the capital budget. The mayor calls it a catalytic investment at a time when the district is facing budget woes.
If you need to add revenue, as we do, you can't leave 180 acres vacant. If you need to add jobs, as we do, you cannot wait for an anchor to show up to start developing there.
But when it comes to that anchor, opponents argue taxpayer dollars shouldn't be involved. Ebony Payne is the advisory neighborhood commissioner here. She's been involved with groups who have been opposing this. She's pointing to D.C.'s first billion-dollar budget concern, with projected revenue losses over the next few years due to federal workforce cuts. Then there's the potential immediate furloughs and spending cuts that could be happening soon amid the budget battle on Capitol Hill.
I think it's more about being told that there's not enough money for public safety officials and healthcare, but there is money for football and for professional football players.
Now, if the council pushes all of this through, a new stadium is expected to open here in 2030. Ebony, meanwhile, who you just heard from, says she's going to be moderating a meeting tomorrow night that's going to be focusing on what she calls a new vision for the area here. And by the way, that's a meeting that was planned before this big announcement. Reporting live in Southeast D.C., Rebecca Turco, 7 News.
Rebecca, thank you. Let's go now to our sports director, Scott Abraham, as we continue our coverage.
Yeah, Scott, a domed stadium being billed as a year-round attraction. You had a chance to ask Commissioner Roger Goodell himself about a certain something that comes around every February. Could the Super Bowl really come to D.C.?
You know, it's a big deal when the NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell shows up to this press conference, and it's important for our viewers to understand that this new stadium won't just be for 10 football games a season. The team is planning to use this stadium year-round with private events and concerts. They're estimating 200-plus activations a year at the new stadium. Since the venue will have a roof, it will really open up the type of events they can bring in. Think Final Four, WrestleMania, a Taylor Swift concert, and yes, the biggest of all, a Super Bowl. I asked NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell about the possibility of bringing football's largest event to D.C.
The NFL's had a really good track record of the new stadiums. They get a Super Bowl. What's the probability, the possibility of a Super Bowl coming to D.C.?
Well, we got to get it built first, so we got to get there. But I really do think this community could be a great host for a Super Bowl. I think the stadium is always that missing piece. And, you know, what I've seen from the plans, it certainly looks like it'll to be a very positive application.
A positive application. Boy, that would be something. A Super Bowl in D.C. The Commanders are hoping the new stadium can open in time for the 2030 season. If that happens, Washington would be eligible to host a Super Bowl as soon as the 2031 season. Under that timeline, our nation's capital could potentially host Super Bowl 66 in February 2032. Michelle?
All right, thank you so much, Scott. And 7 News emailed and spoke with every member of the D.C. Council for a statement on the deal and whether they'll vote to approve it. Our Rebecca Turco spoke with members Kenyon McDuffie, Brooke Pinto, and Wendell Felder. All have expressed support for the idea, but they're still going over the terms. Now, Chairman Phil Mendelson issued a statement saying he's concerned about the $1 billion price tag for the city. And Brianna Doe just got back to us saying that she will oppose the deal. And Justin, also, Councilman Charles Allen sent us a statement calling this a bad deal after years of opposing a possible stadium deal. A lot more to this. Meanwhile, President Trump is praising the deal. He calls it a huge win in a post that he put on Truth Social this morning. Scott?
So what are some of the other big investments that the city has made in sports teams? Fair question. Just last spring, the D.C. Council approved $515 million to buy Capital One Arena and pay for improvements. That was part of a deal to keep the Caps and the Wizards from moving into Virginia. The Nationals arrived in the early 2000s after council approved building a costly stadium there, $670 million, that happening by just one vote. The city expects to pay off construction bonds there by the year 2027. We'll check in with our Maryland Bureau Chief Brad Bell now because he's out at Northwest Stadium in Landover. And Brad, you spoke with the governor about this loss. What is he saying about what comes next?
Yeah, so the governor and the acting county executive both sort of putting out this party line that they would have loved for the team to have stayed here, even built a new stadium here. But they are already moving ahead and envisioning something far better for the community than that stadium and all of these parking lots. Back in December, we got our hands on a 3-page memorandum of understanding between the Commanders and Maryland Governor Wes Moore about what would happen to the current stadium when the team leaves. Some important points. Demolition of the stadium will start no later than 90 days after the team starts playing at a new stadium. And they'll work together to transform the site into a, quote, vibrant mixed-use development, which must be responsive to local needs. Well, today, residents are telling us what those needs are.
We really want high-end retail space and nice restaurants in the county.
I think it should be a good place to build like an educational facility.
And today, team owner Josh Harris is saying only he'll do right by the community he's leaving.
Obviously, we've made commitments in Maryland, you know, as to making that site a great site and not having what happened to D.C., which is RFK just literally sat there.
Governor Wes Moore says he tried to keep the team in Maryland, but when it became clear that wasn't going to happen, he got the best deal he could.
Their commitment to both pay for the teardown, their commitment to be the master developer and also be able to work with state and local officials and the community to be able to have something that's more prosperous and more involved than what we have right now, which is essentially 200 acres that's used 8 times a year.
Well, that's what they say, but nobody knows.
You don't trust this memorandum of understanding.
Exactly.
Stadium neighbors telling us they'll believe it when they see it. After all, just up the road, the old Landover Mall was demolished nearly 20 years ago, and the land still sits vacant.
That's exactly what we fear, another Landover Mall, just dead, empty space sitting with no value.
Yeah, so they don't want to get burned again out here. Again, the county executive, acting county executive Tara Jackson, putting out a statement saying that, you know, it's great the team will be playing here for the next 5 years, but they will move ahead. As for loss of revenue to the community, the last several years, the tax revenue has been up and down from this team for the county. Last year, it was $14 million. So they're going to have to replace that somehow. At Northwest Stadium, Brad Bell, 7 News.
A lot still to sort out. Thank you, Brad. And it's going to take some time, but this stadium could cause a lot of change in D.C., so we want to hear from you. Should a new stadium be put to a referendum vote in the district? You can scan that QR code that's on your screen to cast your vote right now. Hundreds have voted, and so far, the majority think it should be up to the voters to decide on whether or not an NFL stadium is built in the district. This is a story we're staying on all night long. You can tune in for the newest reactions at 11 o'clock and see the very latest on WJLA.com.